They're heading for a showdown in the Senate today over net zero policies. It's been driven by Pauline Hanson. The Liberals have blinked in Western Australia and South Australia. That's a good thing. The Nats in New South Wales have blinked as well. They want an end to net zero. But Pauline Hanson has put in an urgency motion into the Senate calling for an end to net zero policy. She's not holding back, and she says anyone who abstains from the vote will be labelled a coward. That's what she says. Pauline Hanson joins me now. I mean, Pauline, let's face it, they won't vote for a stunt, but gee, it's a stunt based on principle that you've done in the Senate today.
Everything that I do is based on principle. Gary, you should know that of me. I've been pushing for this right from day dot. It's not about, waiting, get consultation, all the rest of it. When you see Australians struggling, families can't pay the bills, businesses going under and losing industry and manufacturing in this country, all purely based on this net zero BS, of course, you know how to react. And for Susan Lamb, sorry to tell you this, she's been in for how long? Net zero since 2010, since the carbon tax that Julia Gillard proposed. So we know it's been around for about 15 years at least. For Susan Lamb said, well, I'm going to have a consultation, see how the members of parliament feel about this. That's not leadership. You should read the people. You should know what the hell's happening out there in the country. And with everything that's going on, the cost of living, everything that she speaks about, that she thinks she knows about, yet what's the driving factor? The net zero, what we've been tied ourselves to. And the stupid part about it, for our 1% emissions that we have, China and India, China is not bound to it till 2060, India 2070. Between the three countries, the USA is not signed up to this, India is not signed up to, or won't be till 2070, China 2060. They put out 50% of the carbon emissions, global emissions, and we're the stupid idiots that are heading down this path of destroying our country and our economy.
Well, we are stupid idiots for accepting this. I agree with you because net zero is killing our economy. People have been outside of Parliament House, Canberra today, and it's great to see Barnaby Joyce there, Michael McCormack there. I mean, not often they're on the same side of some arguments. Lou O'Brien, Colin Boyce, Matt Canavan. I mean, there's a couple of people from the Nats that have gone, this net zero is killing us, but you have been consistent on this. You've moved this motion. How do you think they're going to vote?
Okay. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what the coalition do with this because you've got two moderates within the coalition and they agree with all this net zero. So they're going to be, that's what I said. If you can't make a decision on this and vote and let the public know which way you lean on this, and if you leave the chamber abstain, you're nothing but a coward. If you can't see and represent the community of what they want. So I have driven this and see after the election, what they're seeing now is if they don't get their act together and start representing the Australian people and get back to the conservative values, I told Susan Lay, I'm going to hoover up your votes. I will actually go and work for the people on the conservative side of politics and get back to family values and the principles and lower taxation and start pushing for these issues and keep our industries and manufacturing in the country, which keep our jobs, will give us a decent standard of living way of life. So if they don't want to do it, that's their problem. But we're going to be the real opposition on the floor of this parliament, I can tell you, because last time around they were licking their wounds, they were no opposition, no accountability. And this Albanese government now is worse this time around for the numbers that they have. So in the Senate, the Greens and the Labor control the Senate. And this is what they're going to push through, whatever they want. We're in for a hell of a ride, but you still got to be able to stand up and put your point across, debate the issues, and you bring the public along on a journey with you. You keep the public informed. And that's what the coalition hasn't been able to do, especially in the policies they put forward in the campaign they led at the last election. They were hopeless.
Well, you won seats off them in the last federal election campaign. Pauline Hanson, my accusation is that they've gone for Labor Greens light policies. Every time they do that, they go backwards. Net zero is an economy killer. Net zero and renewables is a vote killer for the Liberals.
I think it is, Gary, especially the impact on the cost of living. What's driving up? I was speaking to a grocer at Yamando Shopping Centre the other day when I went a couple of days ago. Anyway, Pauline said, look, He said, I paid $1.5 million to outfit my grocery shop here. And he said, and then on top of it now, I signed a lease for 10 years. I've been in it for 5 years. He said, now I'm hit on a monthly basis of $10,000 a month electricity bill. He said, it's killing me. And he said, if I hadn't known this, I would have never got into business in this. And he's been tied up in this sort of business for years. But people don't understand. That's why 30,000 businesses have gone under. I'm talking to them all the time. They can't cope with the rise in electricity costs, which have to be passed on to the consumer. But also, all these subsidies this government has handed out to foreign companies, superannuation schemes, foreign superannuation schemes to come here. So what they're doing is, we'll actually subsidise you. So these companies invest. They have been investing $100 million. They're getting back an interest rate on top of that around about 8 to actually 10% plus on the government subsidies. That's what it equates to. So all these people are coming out here investing in these schemes here because the government says we're going for renewables that are not producing the power that we need to drive our economy. And that's the problem is. And so rising costs. So the taxpayers paying for it with subsidies, plus also they're paying for it in high electricity costs. And you're actually going to be, if you've got solar panels on, the government's now turning around saying, well, if you're going to feed power into the grid, you've got too much power, you're going to be paying us for the privilege of putting your power into the grid.
It was always going to happen. Donald Trump now saying, I don't want to see any more of these wind turbines going across the great prairie lands of America, killing off our birds and killing off our vistas. That's one. And America is actually turning to coal, to nuclear. Europe is now finding newfound love for nuclear, ending the moratoriums. I mean, what is cheap and reliable energy to protect jobs and lower the cost of living? That's what your motion calls for. What does cheap and reliable energy look like from your perspective?
Coal-fired power stations. You have to go. We've got the resources. You've got to go coal-fired power stations for the interim to produce that power that we need, the baseload power that we need, and so that the lights don't go out. Renewables do have their place, but you don't allow for the clearing of productive agricultural land to put in solar panels. Up at Collinsville, North Queensland, I visited a few years ago, the farmer could not clear the land to produce food, but he could clear the land to put on 242,000 solar panels.
Yeah.
The wires were being eaten out by the rats. Okay, destroying it. Then you had this Kogan Creek. That was another one. They put in all these solar panels. It cost millions of dollars. And guess what? Not 1 kilowatt of power went into the power plant at all. So these are schemes. Even green hydrogen, they were going to award Twiggy Forest, I think it was about $2 billion in the budget there. Well, green hydrogen, I'm telling you, listeners, it won't work. We are so far behind, 20 years behind, it's ever coming into play. The cost of producing green hydrogen costs more in electricity than what it does when we produce it. So it's a pie-in-the-sky dream. You've been led down the scam path that people have dumped on board. The carbon credit scheme is all about these people making huge amounts of money at the expense of the taxpayer. And you think the world's coming to an end. I'll tell you, it's not.
Yeah, scaring
to an end with your standard of living and way of life.
Scaring our kids the way they have for a generation now that the world has come to an end is abhorrent to me, Pauline, and equally, Senator. You know, we're actually saying to kids there's no future. Any wonder our kids are a little bit sort of like, what's the point? What's the point in school and all this? The impact in our society is awful.
And these kids are not being taught resilience and the scaremongering that's going on. So kids now, the younger generation coming through, what they're saying, we're not going to have children because the world's coming to an end. That's how a lot of the young ones are thinking. And it's a shame because that's all led by what they've been taught in the schools. It's not critical thinking and it's not putting two sides of the argument. And this has all become so political. It's a political game that they're playing with people's lives and how they move forward into the future. So I'll keep harping at this, Gary. I'm coming up the next 5 or 10 minutes and I'll be talking about this on the floor of Parliament and I'll put it to the vote.
All right.
So I'm actually going to I'm going to shame these ones there. I want the public to know who's really caring about them on this side to actually get rid of this rubbish that's been imposed on people. Yeah,
well, Labor and the Greens will be unreliable on this, but you're hoping a few Liberals might break a few ranks and maybe you'll get a nat or two. Who knows, Pauline Hanson? But it's a good little stir, that's all I know. It's a good little stir.
Many more to come, Gary. This is only the start of it. Don't worry, Next one is about the education, what they're teaching our kids in the education program. Gender dysphoria, I haven't finished with that one either. And immigration. We're going to keep on top of that.
Yeah, no, immigration, defence, the price of electricity, net zero, and I think all of what you're saying is all on the money. And we look forward to talking to you any time along the way, Senator Pauline Hanson. Thanks for your time today.
Lovely.
All right, Senator Pauline Hanson. This is the sort of pre-game show for Pauline Hanson. She's about to go onto the floor of the Senate. She's about to fire up. But stick with us here at 4.